Hey guys, so usually these auto shows have been kind of dying down. Manufacturers have really been pulling back, but because there were so many new introductions here, I managed to film about 13 new vehicles for the channel to put up for videos, and that's kind of a record for us. So to show off the rest of the cars that I kind of missed, I'm gonna do a final wrap-up video of the show floor, show you guys what to see, what not to see, what my thoughts were on the actual show. So let's start off with the Acura, the Genesis, the Mercedes, Lexus area, and we'll kind of move out through the rest of the show. So as you can see behind me is Mercedes. They had a really busy show. They had like 4 world debuts, 7 world debuts total, but at New York they only had 4 different vehicles. I showed you guys the CLA, the new CLA 35, the GLS. They also had their EQC special edition, like an 1827 special edition, and then they had the refreshed GLC Coupe, which I chose not to show you guys that because it was just a refresh, and the GLC Coupe is a little bit more of a model that will appeal to a certain audience. Now over here, things have been really quiet over at Lexus. They didn't really have anything new to show us here. Of course, they've got the new UX on display. They've got the LC Inspiration Edition. But other than that, things are pretty quiet over at Lexus. But their lineup is relatively fresh, except for the crossovers and the SUVs. So I'll be looking forward to seeing what Lexus is going to be putting out in the future. So on my left, you'll see Genesis. And honestly, Genesis was supposed to be showing us an all-new SUV very soon, which is still coming, which instead they had this electric hatchback crossover to show us. Instead, it's just a concept vehicle. They're still working on the new GV80. There's the refresh G90, which I thought was going to be here in New York, but surprisingly it wasn't. We still have the old G90 over there, which definitely looks out of place, especially when you look at the refresh G80 Sport and the lovely G70. Now, behind me, or at least over on this side, you'll see Acura. And Acura, again, we were really hoping for them to show us the Type S variants of the TLX. That car's been shown in spy photos, but instead we have the PMC edition of the MDX and the TLX, which is again painted in that shade of Valencia red that's on the NSX. So Acura's display, I'm liking the fact that they're adding a lot of color. Their cars are starting to look a lot more sporty, but their newest offering, the RDX, is really, for me, the only model that I would personally get. While these models are still great vehicles, they're just starting to get a little bit dated, a little bit aged. But again, Acura is working on completely revitalizing their lineup in the coming years. Now over there, Alfa Romeo showed off limited edition runs of the Stelvio and the Giulia Quadrifoglio, which again, great vehicles. It's a little bit quiet over at Alfa Romeo. They are planning to work on introducing another new crossover, of course. And then over on this side, we've got Cadillac, and Cadillac has been very busy completely redoing their entire lineup. You've got the new XT4, and then you've got the XT6 crossover. And then of course, there was the world debut of the CT5 sedan, the sports sedan, which is basically a replacement for the CTS and the ATS. Again, kind of a tweener vehicle. I showed you guys the full review of that, so be sure to watch my first look video that's already been posted. Now you can see on my left is Lincoln. Now Lincoln also has been a very busy auto manufacturer for the American luxury brands. We had the new Navigator first, we had the new Aviator, and then this time they showed us the all-new Corsair, which is their smaller SUV, the smallest SUV they make. It's the replacement for the MKC. Beautiful cars, beautiful lineup. Their sedans are starting to get a little bit old, but as you guys can see, their crossover segment, their crossover lineup is really hot nowadays, so I'm really happy to see what Lincoln is doing. Now over on the other side of Lincoln, you'll find Infiniti. Infiniti has been also pretty quiet. They showed us a Q50 Signature Edition at the show, which is again like a final hurrah, kind of like what Acura did for the PMC Edition. I'm actually a little bit sad because I want to see Infiniti completely redo their lineup, which they are working on it now, but as it sits, you know, you've got the old Q50, the Q60, which is still a beautiful car, the QX50 crossover, which is kind of their best seller. But they're in desperate need of an all-new flagship sedan. They're showing us that Q Inspiration hybrid or electric car concept. So there are big things coming for Infiniti, but it's a little bit of a snooze fest at this time. Now, of course, one of the hotter brands here at the New York Auto Show is definitely Rivian. We've got the new R1T all-electric truck, and of course the SUV version of that vehicle, the R1S. Now, this truck, I actually didn't get a chance to film, is basically an all-electric truck that's going to hopefully or maybe come to market before even Tesla does. 400 plus miles of range. The top version has like over 450 horsepower. It can tow over 11,000 pounds. So this is a truck that a lot of people have been asking for, or at least asking Tesla to do, but Rivian may just beat them to market. Now, if you want to follow follow me over here. Audi, which I showed you guys the all-new Q3 already, which is again the smallest crossover they make. They also had some refreshed versions of the RS3 and the Audi R8, their supercars. Audi's lineup in general has been mostly fresh. The Q3 was definitely in dire need of a redo. You can see the e-tron is over there, which is their all-electric crossover, which isn't technically on sale, to be on sale later this year, but this is going to compete with things like the Tesla Model X and the Mercedes-Benz EQC, their all-electric vehicle, and then the Q8, as you can see, is right next to it. So Audi has definitely been doing a lot with their design in recent years. I'm really liking the direction they're going, but there's a lot to be seen at this German brand as well. Now over at the Toyota display, they were busy showing off the all-new Highlander. You guys saw my first look video on that. It's the 2020 model, fully redesigned on the TNGA-K platform. They also have the all-new Yaris hatchback, which I would have done a full video on that. However, it's very dark, as you can see over there. The car was locked, so I didn't want to, spend time filming something if you couldn't really see it that well. I'll be sure to show you guys a full review on the Yaris hatchback, which is again essentially a Mazda 2 in Toyota clothing. Now behind me, or at least on my right over here, is Maserati. Maserati also was a little bit quiet. They showed off a special edition version of the Levante SUV, which is again quickly becoming their best-selling vehicle. It's a crossover, so I'm not really surprised over there. And of course behind me, Buick, which sadly they had nothing to show. Their lineup is mostly fresh, but it was a little sad to see that they didn't have anything to show here other than just the versions of the Avenires that they've been introducing on some of their mainstream models. Over here on my right is the Jaguar Land Rover display. Now they were also a little bit quiet. They did show us the SVR or SV Autobiography edition of the Range Rover Velar, which has been an incredibly well-selling vehicle for them. One of the most stylish crossovers that you can get. Jaguar also is showing off the refreshed XE, which again, with it being a refresh, that model has been relatively slow selling because it's a sedan. Really, the E-Pace and the F-Pace have been the brand's hot sellers, which again, doesn't really surprise me. It's another crossover. Now, if you want to follow me over to Porsche, they had one big unveiling here at Porsche, and that's that beauty over there. It's the 911 Speedster. This is a car that will cost $275,000. It has the motor from the Porsche GT3, so a 4-liter naturally aspirated straight 6 with 502 horsepower. They're only building about 1,948 of these. So if you guys want one of these, you better head over to your local Porsche dealership soon and put a deposit down. She's an expensive girl, but that's a really nice looking car. You can't really argue. There's the same car in red. It only comes with a 6-speed manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, of course, and the looks that will really make a lot of knees go weak. Although some of you will just say, yeah, it's just another 911. You have to admit, the lines on this particular one look really good. So as you can see, Subaru decided to turn the auto show floor into basically the jungle to show off their all-new Outback crossover utility vehicle, which they have on display over here. I showed you guys a first look of the car, all-new platform on the Subaru global product architecture. It's got a new turbocharged engine that marks the return of the turbo engine to the Outback, and it just looks really great in the setting. I think Subaru probably did the craziest job with making this the auto show floor look like a completely different environment just for this specific car. So walking out of Subaru's jungle, let's head over to Mazda, I guess back to pavement. And the big news over at Mazda is the introduction of their Skyactiv D. Their diesel engine technology is finally coming. They decided to first show it off on the CX-5. This is going to be on sale in July, and you can basically tell it's a D model from the Skyactiv D badge. It's actually parked over there. It's based off of the Signature trim. This is just the standard 2.5 turbo Signature. This is the Skyactiv D. You can only tell it's the diesel from that D badge at the back of the vehicle, and you'll have a 5,500 RPM Redline on the tach. Now here's the specs on the diesel model. I didn't do an actual video on this car, but it's a 2.2 liter twin turbo 4-cylinder diesel, 168 horsepower, 290 foot-pounds of torque. Those numbers are pretty good for a diesel, but I have to say the torque output is less than what you get in the gas 2.5, and it's only rated to get 27 in the city, 30 on the highway. Now those numbers, I kind of wish they were a little bit better. Now the pricing of the new CX-5 diesel, this is probably the area that's gonna shock a lot of you. It's gonna start at just over $42,000. That's $4,000 more than the signature version of that car with the 2.5. And with a fuel economy gain of only about 4 mpg, this might be a tough sell. And I'm really sad because I was super excited for the diesel. I'm gonna wait until I actually drive this car, of course, but on paper at least, the numbers are a tad disappointing. Now over here at the Honda display, things are also pretty quiet over here. They showed us the all-new Passport, which is a shorter version of the Pilot. So instead of at the New York Auto Show, they're just showing off a crashed HRV that came from the IIHS after their small overlap frontal crash test. You can see the car structure held up very well, so this is a very safe vehicle. Most new cars today are very safe, but Honda wanted to show off the fact that this is a top safety pick plus from the IIHS. Now things over at Kia have also been pretty busy. The Telluride is of course the big news. I showed you guys a full review on that. I think it's one of the hottest new three-row crossovers in the segment. But here at the New York Auto Show, they were able to show us two new vehicles, a special edition of the Stinger. Let's walk over there and check it out. Now you can see that bright orange Stinger over there is the new GTS trim, and this is a trim that's going to slot in between the GT1 and the GT2. It'll be available with either rear drive or all-wheel drive. Now here's the kicker, the all-wheel drive model will have a drift mode. Basically you can set the different drive modes. Drift mode will send 100% of the torque to the rear wheel, so it'll keep that rear drive characteristics where you could do burnouts, you could do drifts, basically. That's why Kia calls it a drift mode. This car will be limited to about 800 vehicles for the 2020 model year. You can get it in this really cool shade of orange. It has special carbon fiber accents in the grille and the mirror caps and the side vents. Those are all authentic carbon fiber. The hood is also carbon fiber. So this is going to be a really cool model. I'm loving the fact that Kia is keeping the Stinger fresh and hot by introducing these limited run models. It's still a really hot car to get into 2020. Now behind me over here is the Habanero. This is an all-electric crossover that Kia just showed. I really like the name of the car. Habanero, get it? Spicy Nero, basically. It's definitely still in its early concept form. Really interesting looking vehicle, so I'll be curious to see what Kia decides to put into production that's based off of this spicy concept. Now walking through the Chevy display, things also were pretty quiet over here at Chevrolet. We were all hoping the mid-engine Corvette would be here, but that has been delayed to sometime in July, so I'm hoping to get an invite so I can show you guys the mid-engine Corvette. Let's hop over to Volkswagen because they did have something to show us at the show. Now over at Volkswagen, this company has also been pretty busy completely redoing their lineup. You've got the top-selling Tiguan, the all-new Jetta. I just showed you guys the Jetta GLI, and then later this month, or early next month, I'm going to be going to California to drive the all-new Arteon. This is finally going on sale. Now, these are the three vehicles they had on display for us. The ID Buggy is a really funky electric car that I seriously hope makes it to production. They also showed us kind of a cross tour version or like a rugged version of the Atlas. There's also an Atlas Sport that's coming out that's supposed to be like a Passport competitor. And then over there is their Tannock electric pickup truck. Or I'm sorry, it's not electric, but there will be an electric version coming. This is a mid-sized pickup truck that VW is hoping to put into production soon, and it will not be based off of the Ford Ranger. There was rumors that they would work together with Ford, but this will be its own unique design. I think it's a really sweet looking truck, and honestly, with the mid-sized truck segment heating up, I'd love to see Volkswagen throw their mix into the bag. Now here at Dodge, they were also pretty quiet. They had special versions of the Challenger to show off, showing off its heritage, but honestly, they're pretty much milking it at this point. The Challenger is due for a full redesign. I'm looking forward to seeing a full redo of the Challenger and the Charger. Now over here, we've got Nissan, which Nissan showed off a couple of things. They had the all-new redesigned Versa, which I showed you guys a first look video, and then up there on the stands, or cars that are on those platforms, we've got 50th anniversary versions of the Nissan GTR and 350Z, where they brought out basically these cars' generations to show all the changes and the history that Nissan's been having with their performance divisions. Honestly, I'm just hoping that Nissan gives us an all-new version of the GTR and the 370Z very soon, because those are two of the oldest vehicles in their lineup. Now behind me, or at least on my right, Hyundai, they've also been pretty busy. They showed off two all-new models here at the New York Auto Show. The all-new Sonata, which I showed you guys, the red Sport model over there in the back. That is probably one of the most interesting designs of the show. I actually really like the way it looks at the front fascia. At the rear, I wasn't really a big fan of, but I love the silhouette. Hyundai went with a four-door coupe look. And then, of course, if they didn't really need another crossover in the lineup, there's the Venue, which is a replacement for the old Hyundai Accent hatchback, which isn't on sale. I actually like it. It's a funky, cool-looking crossover that has some, Mini Countryman, some Kia Soul DNA in there, maybe even some Fiat 500L. So I think it'll be a really interesting addition. I just wasn't sure if Hyundai really needed to add another crossover to their lineup. Now over here you've got Ford, which Ford showed off that special version of the Mustang, basically a Focus RS heart in the Mustang. You've got the 2020 Escape. But other than that, Ford's been pretty quiet because they have had a lot of new models to show. The GT500, of course, is the pinnacle of the Mustang performance line. And then over there, that orange car, as you can see, is that EcoBoost high performance package. So after a long 2 days here at the New York International Auto Show, that was basically the show floor. There were a couple brands missing. BMW wasn't here and Volvo wasn't here, but as you guys saw, there were plenty of new introductions. I managed to film 13 cars. That's the most I've ever done. And honestly, I'm happy to see so many manufacturers coming back to the auto show, introducing new vehicles here. So if you guys are in the New York area and want to come out here, I highly recommend checking out the New York Auto Show. But other than that, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full coverage on the 2019 New York International Auto Show. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. And as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.